Hey you guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell to make sure you get notifications for future videos. So as stated by the title, today I will be discussing my fibroid journey. It will be a little detailed, so if you're not interested in knowing everything about that, you are more than welcome to click off this video. I just wanted to give you a heads up and we're gonna dive right in. So about 3 years ago, when I moved to Houston, Texas, I was diagnosed with uterine fibroids. Uterine fibroids are basically, they are mass tumors that grow on the wall of your uterus. They are benign, which means non-cancers, but they can cause some really uncomfortable and painful periods. So when I was diagnosed, the way I found out was I went to my OBGYN. I've always had painful cycles, but honestly, I didn't think anything of it. Sadly, I thought that it was normal. But when I went to my OBGYN, she did an ultrasound and she stated that I had several fibroids. My fibroids were multiple sizes. I believe the largest one was like the size of a golf ball, or a little bigger. And at that time, she stated that it's not big enough for us to rush into surgery. So we just kind of dealt with it. She did ask me if I wanted to go on birth control to help alleviate, the cycle pain and where I wouldn't have as many cycles. And also to help because they saw slight signs of endometriosis. I politely declined. Nothing against anyone who was on birth control, but I am just not a big fan of birth control. I don't like what it does to your body. So I personally declined and stated that I would just deal with the pain. Well, it was a couple of weeks to a month later, and I was sitting at the house and I was on the phone with my best friend, talking, laughing like normal, and I felt a sharp pain in my stomach, and I immediately fell to the ground. And my boyfriend was like, "You just have to poop. Why are you being so dramatic?" and I'm like, "No, this is not poop. Like, this is pain." But of course I didn't, well, I thought something of it, but I just kind of went to bed and wanted to see how it played out. But the whole time I'm laying there, I'm like, this is not normal. This pain is not normal. I should not be in this kind of pain. So later on that night, I immediately went to the emergency room. And while I was in the emergency room, they stated I had to have emergency surgery because I had a cyst on my ovary that had exploded and there was standing blood in my stomach, and that's what was causing the pain. So my OBGYN rushed over, we had the surgery, everything went well, thank God, and it was all good and dandy. Well, my cycles were still a little painful after the surgery, but so here's the thing. When I say I had bad cycles, I noticed a change in my cycles from just bad to horrible. It wasn't like normal cramps. My stomach felt like someone was twisting my insides, and it just didn't feel like normal period pain. It didn't. It just didn't feel right. So I was still cramping. I would still have slight stomach pains, but it wasn't as bad as before surgery. And it definitely wasn't as bad as that night that I went to the emergency room. So I just kind of dealt with it. Well, a couple of weeks later, I had a checkup with my OBGYN to see how it went after surgery. And I told her, I'm still having pains. I'm still doing, it's better, but not the best. So she suggested again birth control. So to be honest, you guys, the pain was so unbearable. I said, you know what? I'm going to give birth control a try. It's either pain or birth control. Like, what is it? And if you or, anyone have fibroids or endometriosis, it's an excruciating pain. Like, the pain sometimes is unbearable. And I think it's a pain that no one will understand unless you actually go through that. So I decided to give birth control a try. So they gave me birth control in the pill form, and I lasted a good week on it. I ended up right back in the emergency room from pain, you guys. My body completely rejected the birth control. It was absolutely horrible. I immediately threw the birth control away because it just wasn't for me. It was doing more harm than good. So we tossed the birth control idea down the drain, and I honestly just dealt with the pain. You guys, the pain in dealing with fibroids and endometriosis has caused me to miss work. It, to be honest, jobs don't care if you can't stand or can barely walk because of your cycle. Fibroids is so unknown and so not talked about that honestly a lot of people don't understand the pain that one goes through. They honestly think, oh, you're just on your cycle, oh, you're being dramatic, oh, like you go through this every month, all girls have cycles. No, fibroids and endometriosis is a different type of pain. And of course, like my job hired me to be there. They didn't care that I needed a week off every month because of my cycle. I could barely walk. I can't eat. I'm nauseous. Like they didn't care. And my job caused me to be on my feet and moving constantly. And so that honestly didn't work out. And I digress, but it caused me to get fired from that job because my attendance was horrible because of me having to miss so much work from being in pain. And even now, thankfully, God has blessed me to be able to be self-employed full time. But even now, I have to take a week out of my schedule every month. I have to block my schedule off because I cannot move. I'm literally balled up on the couch in a corner. I can't eat. I'm nauseous. It doesn't work. So I went back to my doctor for more options recently. Honestly, it was like a couple of months ago because at this point I'm like, surgery. I have to have surgery. I deal with it naturally, and I'm gonna do a separate video on ways that I deal with the pain naturally to help cope. Again, it's not getting rid of them. There are several documentaries and videos out there of natural ways to shrink fibroids. And that helps, but I want them out of my body. So I am really looking into the surgery route. It is a little more difficult for me because I am self-employed, so I can't just go have surgery and have somebody do it and like and have like the company I work for pay for it or anything like that. So I do have to be a lot more strategic about surgery because of the cost, because of the downtime. I went a couple of months ago. She wanted me to do another ultrasound because she said it seems like my fibroids have grown tremendously, and the ultrasound was like $2,000 without insurance, and I'm like, okay. So it's a lot to deal with. Fibroids are not talked about a lot, which I know I stated that earlier, but I really wish there was more awareness about fibroids and endometriosis. Fibroids are very common in minorities. A lot of people have fibroids and don't even know it because they show no symptoms. I figured something was wrong because, as I stated, I had pain in my stomach every cycle to where I couldn't move. The only time I would feel comfortable was when I'm like hunched over. So I feel like surgery is gonna have to be my next step. However, that worries me a little because a lot of people that I know that had fibroids and had surgery state that there's a 50% plus chance that they'll grow back. So That's a fear of mine too, but it has definitely been a journey. With fibroids, I do experience that during my cycles. I have huge blood clots. I know that's TMI, but you guys, huge blood clots. It kind of scares me sometimes because I'm like, am I okay? So it can be a lot to deal with. I don't want to eat at all during that time. As I stated earlier, I'm nauseous. I can't wear anything on my stomach. So shorts, jean pants, high waist pants, nothing can touch my stomach during that time. It's almost like I have to wear, I only want to be in dresses, loose dresses or loose clothing because my stomach is so sensitive to touch. On top of looking pregnant, you guys, fibroids bloat your stomach because again, those are mass tumors. So my stomach is so bloated to where I look pregnant, and it's because of the fibroids. I see a lot of stories where people have surgery and immediately after lose 10 to 12 pounds because of the weight those tumors were holding in their body. And not only that, but they feel better. They have more energy. I honestly, during that time, I don't want to do anything. I don't even want to get out of the bed. And honestly, I can't even lay in the bed. I have to be sitting upright with my legs slightly elevated for me to feel good. I can't lay down flat. I don't feel good. I'm in too much pain. I have to be on the toilet or feet elevated, sitting upright like this for me to feel okay during that time. So yeah, you guys, fibroids are definitely are something serious, and I really wish there was more awareness around them. It's slowly becoming something that's being more and more discussed, but yeah, you guys, that's my journey. I'm still trying to figure out the best way to handle them naturally, but it's really looking like surgery is gonna be my next step. And I do plan on taking you guys along the journey. If I do have surgery, I plan on recording that. I am going to do a separate video because I don't want this to be too long. I'm going to do a separate video of the products I use and the things I take during that time to help alleviate the pain and, to help get me through that week. So I hope this was a nice little insight. It wasn't too detailed, but a nice little insight of what people with fibroids and endometriosis go through. If you have any questions or any suggestions that, you yourself have done to help alleviate or deal with fibroids, or any video that you want to see, whether it's my diet because I am vegetarian, or as I stated, I'm going to do a separate video of the natural products that I use to help alleviate the pain. But just drop it in the comments and let me know. I hope this video was a little beneficial, just an inside scoop on my journey with fibroids, what I've been dealing with, and from me being diagnosed to now. So again, if you guys have any other questions, please leave it in the comments and I'll be sure to answer.